Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. We are back with the Bronco build here, and what we're going to be doing today, if you look up here, got a little bracket on there already. We're going to be adding a massive light bar for the top of our Bronco. So big shout out to the guys over at Auxbeam, because what they've sent us today is this huge 52-inch light bar for the top. If you read here, it's the 5D-PRO series, and if you look at this thing, you've got two rows of LED lights all the way across. You've got 5 big ones in the middle for a spot beam, and then it finishes off with 2 rows on this side as well. Like I said, this is 52 inches wide. What you get in the box, of course, is the light bar. You get a little instruction manual to install it. For you sticker guys, they send you stickers. Then you get a box with a couple different baggies of hardware depending how you're going to mount this thing, and then you get your big wiring harness. Now, Auxbeam has also sent us out, which is in this box right here, an Auxbeam switch panel. That'll be probably posted before this, but the videos are going to be intertwined, so if you're wondering why it kind of jumps, that's why. But I'm going to show you how to wire both with and without that box. So this is your harness. You can see in here you get an on-off switch, and one nice thing, if you look right here, the on-off switch, you can unplug that portion. So you don't have to try to feed this massive chunk into your firewall or whatever to get this inside the truck. You can just disconnect it and everything else. Then another top-notch thing from these guys are these guys right here, and as you can see, Auxbeam pre-wires this all up. All you got to do is connect it to the positive and negative to your battery and you're good to go. It's got the little connectors on there already. It's all heat shrink wrapped and everything. You're not going to have to worry about it leaking or any of that. Fuse built in here, you got your relay there, everything's built in. So again, I'll show you how to do this once we get to that point. All you got to do is plug that into the other end of there, and it's as easy as that, and hooking it up to the battery, but I'll show you that. And then of course I'll show you how we wire it up to the Auxbeam itself. Alright, now as for the bracket that you saw on the truck, what I picked up is from the Nylite guys. This is a bracket, 52-inch bracket for specifically the Ford Bronco, and it allows you to fit the massive light bar on there. Nice thing about this, and you'll see it once I get it on the truck here in a sec, this bolts in and then this kind of sits on top, and what this piece is a cover. It actually makes it look like the truck is stock still, because got to keep an eye, a lot of the different brackets, when you put them on, it's just take the plastic cover off the Bronco and bolt it straight on. It's all open to the elements, looks kind of funny, but these guys send a cover open. And another nice thing is got a hole drilled in here where a lot of them just drop in. So this will have a bolt specifically right through the steel. You won't have to worry about it dropping off or falling off when you're going up and down the bumpy roads. Alright, so for the top of the Bronco, you can see I've got that one on over there already. All you got to do is, if you look here on these covers that pop off, there's a little tiny notch there. Get your pop tool or your bar, put it in there, and it releases it. Just as easy as that. Pull it off. Then in here you've got two 10mm bolts, and this plastic thing comes right off. What this is just basically the clip that we just pushed to hold the cover piece on over the accessory portion here. So remove the two 10s, get that out of the way, and then the bracket goes right back in place. Alright, once you're done, you're left with the two stubs of the bolts sticking out. Put this clamp on here. It's got a little bit of play back and forth. Once you tighten it up, you want it all the way back to the outside of the vehicle. Now this portion is too hard to do with one hand, but you get this secondary bracket, goes on top just like that. The two middle holes line up, and you want the part, you can see one side has an angle to it, and this is straight up and down. Angle goes to the top, then when you put the nuts and bolts on, that'll line up those other holes on each side in the middle of this thing, and then the cover plate can be bolted to the top of that. Alright, so now that you got it all up here and bolted back down, you can get your little secondary plate here, which then goes on top just like this. And then they send out these two little bolts with the hex head on them, plus a little Allen wrench so you can tighten it up. And then, like you can see, now it looks like it's part of the truck. Instead of just leaving this all open, you get it covered. You don't have to worry about gunk and stuff getting in there. And then all we're left to do is grab our light bar and mount it on. Alright, so we ran into a couple problems. Putting the light bar up onto those brackets it's a little bit too wide. So those brackets that say they're for 52 are not for 52 inch. But secondly, the thing that holds this on is the one little bolt there. You can see I got the mount that comes with the light bolted on right now. And that, if you put it through that hole up top there, it would be the only thing holding it. So it's going to want to do this, and it's going to want to turn and point downwards basically. But if you look on these brackets that come with it, it's got little notches here and here, and then it comes with 2 more little set screws. So what I ended up doing is we're going to use these brackets. I'm going to put it on like you see it now, with the angle pointed in towards the middle. And then what I did with this bracket now is I chopped off the end of it. So this is the passenger side. It'll sit up this way. And now it's going to be flat up there instead of having the angle upwards like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the light up where we want it, where we're happy with it. Then we will drill a hole, because you can see there's a slotted hole in the bottom of the bracket. We'll drill a hole in the top of here, and then you can mount it from there. And once it's mounted on here, then you have the ability not only to tighten the light down with the bracket that it was supplied with, but you also have, you can see in there the 4 holes, you have the 4 set screw holes to aim this thing where you want, because it's not extremely heavy, but it's heavy enough that if you were to just hold it with the 1 screw, it's definitely not going to be strong enough to stop this thing from wanting to tilt downwards, especially when you hit a little bit of off-road. So I just took a hacksaw, we'll cut off the angles, bolt them back up top there, we can mark where we want, drill 1 hole, and these things, if you look down here, are supplied with some other bolts and washers and nuts, so we have all that to bolt it down afterwards. But again, it'll be a little stronger doing it this way. Unfortunately, you do have to cut up your new brackets, but it is what it is. Alright, so we've got it up on the Bronco. Like I said, what I did was I ended up just chopping off the end of the bracket, so the angled part that comes up, cut it off, put the bracket that came with the light bar facing inwards, and then I just basically drilled a hole through here, bolted it through, just like you see, that holds it on. And now, until we have this wired up, we don't really know which way it wants to face, so I got it pointed slightly downhill. You've got your bolt that holds it to the bracket, has a washer and a lock washer, and then you have 2 set screws. So when the time comes to angle this thing, you can just remove the set screws, point it up or down, and it does come with a little Allen wrench in the box for both sizes. So now all that's left to do is power this thing up. So the wire comes down and it'll go under the hood, and I'll show you how to do all that now. All right, for now, the ones that want to wire it up with the wiring harness it comes with, it's as easy as plugging it in here. And now I just have this kind of hot wired in right now to show you. You'll plug it in, you have your on-off switch right here. You'll come this way, you got your little relay. We'll clean up all this wires once the Auxbeam goes in. In here, you have your fuse, and then I actually just have it sitting on the battery, negative to negative, positive to positive. So now, if you come over here, it's as easy as just flicking the switch. You can see, goes on and off just like that. If you have this inside, the little red light will light up. When you turn it off, it turns it off. Alright, for those of you that want to wire it to an Auxbeam like we're going to be doing, what you got to do is basically eliminate the connector. You don't have to do this, but I'm choosing to. And just cut yourself enough off each side. This side came from the light bar up top, and this side came from the wiring harness. Leave yourself enough that if you change your mind or it doesn't work, at least you got some wire there to put everything back together. But once you clip that off, then you are left with inside is pretty much as easy as wiring gets, just a black and a red, positive, negative. And you can see I cut the whole length off for now, but you can actually get rid of all of this, because that's your little relays and your fuse when you go and wire it directly to the battery. And then your other wire there, this whole thing, is just your switch, which will all be controlled. The relays, the power, and the switch will all be controlled by the Auxbeam switch after. So all we need is this. Cut the whole length. You might not need it, but then we can wire it to the light. We'll feed it through where it goes. The Auxbeam switch will end up on the driver's side eventually, so we're going to cut across. So leave yourself the whole length, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these little butt connector things. You basically put one wire from one end into there, put the other one into the end of the light up top on the Bronco already. Then I got a couple boxes here of different size heat shrink. So once that's on, we'll put one of those on first, and we can shrink this all down. And then if you still want to go super overboard, just get some black electrical tape, wrap it up, and you'll have no issues with it coming apart or short circuiting or anything like that. All right, so we have it all wired together. I did the 2 connectors like I showed you, taped it all up. What you want to do, make sure you leave enough that when you pull this tight, the bulk of it is going to be under the hood. So this is where it comes out, straight through there. And if you were looking, it kind of goes behind the plastic there, same place where we got the ditch lights plugged in. And then we'll come out here, and then once the Auxbeam's on, we're going to cross it along, and we're going to do it, the Auxbeam right over there. And you can see my Spider-Man band-aid because I sliced my finger doing this. But it's going to end up over there, and we'll plug it in. But what you're left with now is just a long wire, and that's all you need, because once we strip the coating off of here, it's just positive and negative straight into the Auxbeam. So again, once it goes across, you can cut it to length, plug it all in, and you're good to go. So, all right, now that the light bar's up and wired, what you're left with is the wire hanging here. Now, if you cut all the sheathing off here, you can actually tuck the positive and negative in the little gap here in the window, put a little bit of silicone and it'll hide it, but I don't want to put silicone all over the windshield. So what you can get is this stuff from KC. Get it straight from Amazon. KC wire hider. It's just a little circle in there, and one side opens up. You can actually pop that wire in here. You got double-sided 3M tape on the other side. So what you're going to do is you're going to wipe down the edge of your window with an alcohol wipe, make it nice and clean, and then this will stick on the edge like such, and then you can tuck the wire in there. So instead of having a wire dangling around, you have this on your window that's not going to flop around. It hides it. You don't really even know it's there once it's on, and it's super simple to do. All right, so now that we've got the wire all hidden behind the wire hider, you come down here. I've got it strapped up. It just goes along the back to keep the wires out of the way of everything. And then this way, wiring it into the Auxbeam here, I've got it in spot number 1. As you can see, all you need is positive, negative, goes into positive and negative. Tighten it down, and then to turn this thing on, it's as easy as just pushing the button inside the truck. All right, light bar's installed. As you can see, all we have is the headlights on, sitting up here, ready to go. All you gotta do is turn it on to see how far it can shine, and you can see it lights up the entire neighborhood, all the way to the top of the trees, if the phone focuses. And as you can see, you have the spotlight in the middle. We could probably point it up a little bit further so it's pointing further down the road. It won't shine so much right in front, but that is how bright this thing gets. And if you look this way, you can't even look at it because it blinds you. And then if we hit the ditch lights with it, adds just the extra little bit off to the side of the vehicle as well.